So let's talk about the Python variables. The variables in Python, which is a little bit different to other programming environments, are going to be defined as you're using it. Like they're going to be created when you assign them a value. So you do not have to first declare the value and then just assign a value. Just automatically give it a value and that's it. You have that function. Sorry, that variable. So let's say, for example, I want to do x equals to 5, and then we can run it, and then we can say y equals to 3. So now I just created two different variables. Or let's say c, and then I just have like some text. You can even have text. Okay, so like in here, x equals to 5, y equals to hello world. So we can have in here, we're gonna change this one to hello world. And then we can just print them. Again, for printing, you can just type the variable and it will print its value, or you can do print and it will still print the value. So you have those two options. Okay, so in here, like in the slides, you're gonna see how I'm telling you like a definition and then some exercises that you can try. So let's create, for example, multiple variables at the same time. For example, let's say we want to create x, y, and z, and we're gonna give the values just like in here, orange, banana, and cherry. Orange, banana, and cherry. Remember, every time that you want to save text or to tell the program that you're doing text, you will have to put quotation marks. In that way, it will recognize it as text. If you don't do quotation marks, then it will think you're trying to declare a new variable. So now we declare three different variables, orange, banana, and cherry at the same time. So you can see that we can do that by just adding a comma between the variables. So now if I print x, I will see orange because x is in the first position and it's going to take the first position. Y is the second one, so it's going to be banana, and C it's going to be cherry. So if I print the three of them, you can see. So now another thing is like what happens if I just want to have three different variables, but I want the three of them to have the same um, name, right? The same text inside them. So we can just do that like in here. We can do now instead of comma, because comma will expect three different entries, we're going to do x equals to y equals to c, and all of them equal to orange. Now if I print y, I will see that it's orange, and now c is orange too. Okay, so that's a very nice thing to try. So what if I want to create a list? So let's say I want to create fruits. It's going to be a list, and then we're going to have orange, banana, and cherry. So our list is going to have three different inputs. Okay, so we can just run it, and then if we print fruits, you're going to see that you have three different inputs. But let's say you just want to print one of them instead of printing all of them at the same time. So let's say you want to do fruits and you want to print the first element, which is going to be orange. So you're going to type 0 and you will be able to print orange. So one important thing about Python is that Python starts counting from 0 instead of 1. So you always have to keep that in mind. The position 0 will be always the first one. Then you'll have position 1, position 2. So just keep that in mind. Now let's say I want to print bananas, so I just go to 1, and cherry will go to 2. Since we don't have anything else after cherry, if we try to print the third one, like we're gonna see an error because it just goes from 0, 1 to 2. Okay. So another thing we can do For example, it's print some text. Let's say I want to print I love, let's leave a space, and then let's say you want to see, you want to print I love bananas, right? Sorry, I love orange. So you can just do it in that way. I love, and then you can select the first fruit, or banana, or cherry, and then you can just select which fruit you want to print. Okay, so now let's go to the next part and let's talk about global variables. So a global variable, it's going to be a variable that is going to be outside a function and it's going to be used inside a function. So you declare it outside and you use it in a function. So let's start creating a function first. So to create a new function, you're going to have to do def, like define, the name that you want to assign to that function, and then some parentheses. So if there's something that you want your function to take as input, you have to put it inside the parentheses. Right now, we're just going to do a simple function, so you will not be using that part. But later on, we're going to see it in more detail. So we're going to start creating first a global variable, which is going to be x equals to awesome. So I'm going to type here x equals to awesome. Perfect. And now I am going to create a function. So remember, to create a function, you have to use def to define the function, my function, or whatever name you want to give it. You open the parentheses. In this case, we're not gonna take any input, so we close the parentheses, and then we add the semicolon. And then we're gonna ask it to print something. So for example, we're gonna be print Python is, and then we can just do awesome. So there are two ways to do that. You can either add a comma and type x, or you can just do plus x. Okay, so now we created the function, but creating the function doesn't mean running it. So it's not going to print anything till you call it. So for calling it, you're going to have to do my function just as you declare it, and we're going to open and close the parentheses. So you run it and you will see Python is awesome. Okay, so you can see now how we print it. So let's say, for example, here we're just telling it to print whatever we put in X. But what if instead we just want to create a function, just like in here, declare the global variable that we can use outside the function, and then just print some statement. So let's create a new function. And now we're going to declare a global variable. If it's the case that you want to declare a global variable, but inside a function, you always have to specify that it's going to be a global variable. And I'm going to explain you why. So in this case, we're going to do global x, and then you just go global x. And after that, you give it a value, for example, fantastic. Okay? So now if outside that function, well, I first have to call it. If outside that function, I call x, you're going to see that it has a value fantastic. Okay? But what if, let's just comment it. What if instead of that, um, we just declare the variable like that? But I will have to rewrite it. So outside, let's say I had x equal to 1. Okay? So now I create a function and I'm going to just, without declaring that it's global, just say x equals to fantastic. I call my function, and when I run it, you're going to see that it's 1, just as we declared before the function. But why if I declare it in here as x as fantastic? Because you didn't tell it that it was a global variable. So Remember, if you want to be able to use it with that value or to assign a value inside a function, you have to tell it that it's a global variable. So now if I use the global and I run it again, you will see Python is fantastic. Okay? So let's see. Let's actually write that because right now we're just looking at fantastic. But let's say we want to print it and you want to say Python is, and then we want to say it's fantastic. Python, in here, for example, Python is fantastic. As you can see, I didn't leave a space between both of the words. So that's why we see it together. So I can just go back, type in a space, and you can see Python is fantastic. Okay, questions so far?